My name is Katja Schröder. I'm the director of Kunsthaus Hamburg and curator of the current show, The Futureless Memory. And I'm really happy to have Dilşad Aladağ Eda Aslan with us tonight, and to have you all here, the audience, joining this lecture. Dilşad and Eda will present and talk about their project, The Garden of Not Forgetting, which is part of the exhibition, The Futureless Memory. And their project was introduced to me by Dilek Winchester, an artist from Istanbul, who conceived the concept of the exhibition and was familiar with the project of Dilşad and Eda, that is a research project, an artist research on the botanical gardens of Istanbul. I hand over the screen to Dilşad and Eda, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for introducing us. And our project, as Katja said, is focusing on Alfred Heilbronn Botanical Garden and Istanbul University Botanical Institute, which was both founded by German Jewish scientists who were fleeing to Turkey from Nazi regime in Germany. And before talking about our research, we want to show where is this botanical garden and how it is. So we will start with a video that you can see the botanical garden. Okay.
Hikaye niye anlatılmalı, mutlak bilinmeli dememin nedenlerinden bir tanesi de botanik bahçemiz ya da ana bilim dalımızın kuruluşundan başlıyoruz. O nedenle çok önemli diyorum. Çünkü 1935'te kapılarını açtığında bilimsel aleme, botanik bahçemiz o tarihten itibaren dönemsel olarak her gün istenmiş. Buradan çıkılması, buranın uygun olmadığı, buranın başka işlere yapılması gerektiği diye. O nedenle buranın hikayesinin hakikaten anlatılması lazım. Ben öğrenci olduktan sonra, ben burada hoca olduktan sonra en azından 2 kere istendim. Resmen istendim. Dolayısıyla buranın boş bir yer olmadığı, buranın bilimsel alem için çok önemli olduğu, yine başlarda vurguladığım gibi buranın Cumhuriyetimizin ilk botanik bahçesi olması nedeniyle, dünyada tanınması nedeniyle buranın mutlaka hayatının, mutlaka hikayesinin birileri tarafından anlatılması gerekiyordu. O yüzden tekrar size söylüyorum, buranın hikayesini mutlaka ve mutlaka anlatmanız lazım. Bizler için çok önemli.
So we started to work on our research with the goal of telling the story of this botanical garden. Then we encountered with other historical layers of this place. From Ottoman state to Turkish Republic, the area was always used for important purposes. Istanbul is a city of palimpsests, different layers of different periods on the same land, and these layers have all different meanings. For the track of the Botanical Garden, we found out that these various moments in the collective memory of the city has some traces on this land. Then we started to question, can the current condition of this botanical garden be linked with these meanings, and can this conflict comes from the past? Now we will explain those different layers with our findings from various archives both in Turkey and in Germany. The first layer is coming from Ottoman state. We can see the first representation of the area in this panorama of Istanbul, the 10th place of panorama of Istanbul, which was made by Michael Lorich in 1559. Our kapısı sits next to the Süleymaniye Mosque, the magnificent Süleymaniye Mosque, and in this wooden palace, the offices of Janissary chefs are located. Janissaries are the most important military office in the Ottoman state, and they are mostly famous with their victories in the wars of Ottoman. But when we look to the formation of this institute, it was made of male children from non-Muslim families from Balkans and East Europe countries. Those children are taken from their lands and educated as a Janissary soldiers or officers. From its founding, the Janissaries were victorious in a number of wars. However, from the 18th century onward, they began to be associated with the rebellious and pressure that they exerted against the state. The Ağa Kapısı and its nearby Et Meydanı was the places of these rebellions, which is also very close to the palace of Sultan. Therefore, Sultan Mahmud II started to work on dissolving the Janissary corps, and he made dismantled on this land. On 15 June of 1826, Janissary corps was bloodily dismantled on this land, and this is known as Vakaya Hayriye, which we call in English auspicious incident. And this political transformation bring a special transformation in the land. The empty area was assigned to Sheikh al-Aslam and began to be used as Bab-i Meshihat, which is very important office in Ottoman, which has authority in religion, justice, and education. Following the dissolve of Janissaries, Sheikh al-Islam became more and more powerful in the state of Ottoman. So they also took over the land, which is close to very close to Topography Palace. We want to share a detail on this transformation. You can see the palace, you can see the mosque here, and the new founded Bab-i Meshihat here. We want to share a detail from this transformation. According to the Bayram Erdoğan, who is the assistant of recent Istanbul Mufti, Sultan Mahmud II assigned the building to the Sheikh al-Islam, and he banned the name to call the Bab-i Meshihat for erasing the memory and cause people to forget the memory of Janissaries. This was the first attempt to erase the memory of the land, the first and bloody rupture in the collective memory of the city. You can see the Bab-i Meshihat building here. From Genesis, they rebuilt another building, and this is the building that is planned to be rebuilt in next years on this land. However, the situation was continually changing in Ottoman state. The institution gained more power in 19th century, but at the end of 19th century and at the end of 20th century, it started to lose power, and especially with the rise of military civil bureaucracy, the office Sheikh al-Islam started to change. This change continued with the foundation of the Turkish Republic. The politically strong Baba Meshihat became a director of religious affairs and separate just for cultural purposes, and it's also moved to Ankara. Then the space of this Baba Meshihat became empty, which brought a new spatial transformations on the land again. This is the building that we can see, and we still have some of the structure, still it's existing. And the other building, the main building, is the building that planned to be rebuilt in next years. So, as I said before, this change brings some special transformation on the land. Half of the building, not half, but like some structures of the building given to Istanbul Müftüyet, which is a local religious office connected to Director of Religion Affairs, but it is much more smaller and it hasn't any political power formally. We can see from these pictures, the office building is rebuilt in 1980s with so many changes. So it could not be protected as it is. And the other buildings in the land are used as archives and library of the Istanbul Müftüyet. On the other side of the courtyard, the gray part was used as girls' high school, Istanbul Girls' High School. It's an interesting thing. Istanbul Girls' High School just founded in 1913, and it was very, very new and modern institute for its time during the Ottoman Empire. And in 1923, Girls' High School moved to the main building. As you can see from this picture, it's the same building. They started to use this building. And these pictures from 1924, Girls' High School students are participating in physical education class in the common courtyard where they shared with Istanbul Müftüyet. We encounter with these pictures actually at the archive of Gefahr der Heilbronn in Frankfurt. We were knowing that this courtyard was also used by the Girls' High School, but it was a surprise for us to see that Gefahr der Heilbronn, who is one of the earliest women scientists of Botanische Institute, also studied at this building for some period as a high school student. And she kept these pictures as a memory of high school, which could use this building only for 3 years because of a devastating fire in 1926. The building burned and became unusable. And the other structure in the courtyard were saved from the fire without any damage. We found out very different opinions about this fire. We recognize that these constructing opinions can reflect something about the period. First, Cumhuriyet newspaper, which is more progressive newspaper for its time, offered the news of the fire with the headline, "Another one of Istanbul's beautiful building has become ash." On the other side, Son Saat, another newspaper with more conservative opinions, described the fire in this way. The old Meshihat building, occupied by Istanbul Girls' High School, was wholly burned with the exception of Müftüyet section. The use of word occupy in this sentence was worth noticing for us. Another interpretation of this event can be found in an article written by Nevin Meric, who worked in Istanbul Müftüyet for some period. In her study on the history of this area, she mentioned the statement of Said Nursi, Kurdish Sunni Muslim theologian, who was in Istanbul in the same period. After he learned that the Meshihat office was being used as the Istanbul Girls' High School, Nursi first said, "An office that for 100 years had the fortune of the lights of Sharia, Islamic rule, now is the big girls' high school and a playhouse." We wanted to share an excerpt from Said Nursi's letter, which he mentioned the fire and his feelings about the fire.
Ben menfi olarak İstanbul'da getirildiğim vakit, bir zaman Neşriyat İslamiye Dairesi'nde bulunan Darül Hikmet-i İslamiye'deki Hizmet-i Kur'aniye'ye çalıştığım için o alakadarlık cihetinden Neşriyat Dairesi nerededir diye sordum. Eyvah, öyle bir cevap aldım ki ruhum, kalbim ve fikrim titrediler ve ağladılar. Sorduğum adam dedi ki, 100'er sene envar-ı şeriatın mazharı olmuş o alan, şimdi Büyük Kızların Lisesi ve malebegahıdır. İşte o vakit öyle bir haleti ruhiyeye giriftar oldum ki dünya başıma yıkılmış gibi oldu. Kuvvetim yok, kerametim yok, kemali mesuliyetle ahvah ederek dergâh-ı ilahiyeye müteveccih oldum. Ve bizim gibi kalpleri yanan çok zatların hararetli ahları benim ahıma iltihak etti. Hatırıma gelmiyor ki Şeyh Geylani'nin duasını ve himmetini duamıza yardım için istedim mi, istemedim mi? Bilmiyorum. Fakat herhalde o eskiden beri nurlar yeri olmuş bir yeri zulmetten kurtarmak için bizim gibilerin ahlarını ateşlendiren onun duası ve himmetidir. İşte o gece meşriat kısmen yandı. Herkes vay sefa dedi. Ben ve benim gibi yananlar elhamdülillah dedik. Bediüzzaman Said Nursi.
So, this letter and the conflictual opinions from different newspapers are reflecting the political polarization of the period about the modernization changes. Drawing on various sources, we argue that some of the decisions as part of this modernization process have caused ruptures in certain segments of society. And this land also witnessed one of these ruptures, and still it struggled because of it. After the building burned in 1926, the area remained empty for almost 10 years. During this time, the revolution of Turkish Republic continued with reformations in various institutions, but most importantly, in educational facilities. In 1932, the Turkish government invited a pedagogue from Switzerland, Professor Albert Malshe, to Turkey to investigate the current situation of Darül Funun, which is a university structure mostly shaped by Ottoman ideals. Albert Malshe prepared a report. According to his investigation, the existing structure that came from Ottoman roots was not enough to produce modern size with its Western standards. During those times, there was pressure of National Socialist regime in Germany, in particularly for Jewish people. Large number of Jewish scientists, Jewish German scientists, artists, and intellectuals were removed from their public posts. In this situation, many German scientists were first to leave Germany, and a significant majority of them found refuge in Zurich, with the Committee in Aid of Displaced German Scholars, which was founded by Professor Philipp Schwarz. These letters are from Heilbronn's archive. These are about Alfred Heilbronn's removal from the university. So, on the one side, university reform being enacted in Turkey had created a need for qualified academicians. On the other side, German professors were looking an opportunity to continue their scientific practice. Professor Malshe got in touch with the committee in Zurich after his investigation. Following interviews, Philipp Schwarz came to Turkey to see the matter. Then they decided to make an agreement for the positions in new founded universities. As part of a group of 150 professors and their families, Alfred Heilbronn, who was an expert on plant physiology and genetics, plant physiologist Leo Brauner, and zoologist Andre Neville and zoologist Kurt Kozvik all moved to Turkey. Education and instruction began in newly formed Biology Institute under the supervision of these 4 professors. In this period, botanical education at the new university was located at Zeynep Hanım Mansion. This picture from Zeynep Hanım Mansion, and you can see Mehpare Heilbronn was also studying during that period. However, Alfred Heilbronn requested that the government should construct a botanical garden and biological institute that possessed the necessary requirements for modern scientific instruction. Therefore, they started to look for a new land to build this new botanical garden and biology institute. And the empty land nearby Süleymaniye, which was the Istanbul Girls High School and Babu Meshihat and Janissary Corps was located, suggested by Minister of Education of the period, And according to them, it was a perfect place for founding a botanical garden and institute, biology institute, because it was close to other university institutions, it was very close to inner city, and it was sufficient for necessary climate and topographical conditions. And this letter from 1934 shows the land ownership of the area formally transferred to Ministry of Education. And then this sketch from the first design works, the design of the Botanical Garden and Botany Institute was made by Professor Dr. Arnold Ernst Egli, who is an Austrian architect, was working in Turkey for those time, with the supervision of professors. As you can see, they protect the plan scheme of the previous building, and they continue to use the common courtyard together with the Istanbul Müftüyet. It was an excitement for the first year of Republic to have a modern university, and all newspapers were mentioning the situation, and then they were celebrating this new building. Also, when the institute opened, they continued to publish and celebrate this situation. When we look at the structure, it can be seen that it's an example of early Republican period modern architecture in Turkey. It is made up with two blocks. The north-south block is the Zoology Institute, and the east-west block is the Botanical Institute. And in the middle of intersection of these two blocks, there was a common common salon, which is connecting both parts of the building and then creating a common place for both institutes. When we look at the interior architecture, it's also reflecting the modern architectural style, and the structure of the building has distinctive monumental character, which can be seen from the Haliç and the Bosphorus, which created problem in the next years for this institute. Also, we know that the diverse plants that made up the garden were produced from seeds sent in envelope from botanical gardens in various countries. This is a letter in the preface of Istanbul University Botanical Garden First Seed Catalog, which was sent to various countries in 1935. One can read a request for seeds written in 4 different languages. Our participation in the exhibition is also including these letters in 4 languages. It can be listened in the physical space of exhibition. We also wanted to share this letter in Turkish and in English, and I want to also share a video of the letters.
İstanbul Üniversitesi'nin yeniden kurulan Nebatat Bahçesi önümüzdeki ilkbaharda açılacaktır. Fakat henüz diğer bahçelerle değişmek üzere kendi topraklarında yetişen tohumlar veremeyeceği aşikardır. Bununla beraber aldığı tohumlara mukabil evde bulunanları her vakitte sunmak dileğinde bulunduğundan İstanbul yörelerinde büyüyen yaban nebatlarla şehrin genel bahçelerindeki nebatlardan alınan tohumların bir listesini gönderiyoruz. Eğer İstanbul Üniversitesi Nebatat Bahçesi'nin daha büyük ve zengin arkadaş enstitüleri kendisine tohum olduğu kadar nebat sürgünleri, yumru, soğan ve evde bulundurdukları nebatların artık örneklerinden özel olarak istenmiş olmasa bile göndermek lütfunda bulunarak gelişimine yardım ederlerse bu iyilikleri arkadaşça karşılanacaktır. 1934 Alfred Heilbronn.
As you can see, the foundation of Botanical Garden was a very important moment for professors. This was the moment that they started to build a new life in the exile conditions. And these pictures from the daily life of the Botanical Garden and Biology Institute, where we can see Alfred Heilbronn and Mehpare Heilbronn and Leo Brauner and other professors of the university. Also, this picture is reflecting that how the building, institute and Botanical Garden was important for the politics of Turkey. Here, Mehpare Heilbronn shows the institute to second Prime Minister of Turkey, İsmet İnönü. However, in 1950s, parallel to changes in the politics of Turkey, the urban strategies and opinions on the architectural heritage started to change. During the rule of Adnan Menderes government, the building became a target for the first time for foreign urban planners like Henry Prost, who has a big role in urban planning of the city from very early period. He criticized the building because of it was closing the view of magnificent Ottoman heritage, Süleymaniye Mosque. And then they suggested demolition of this modern building, which is not fitting the character of historical peninsula. We want to mention that in 1950s, Adnan Menderes' 10-year period as a prime minister start with the slogan, "We will save Istanbul from its appearance in the 19th centuries." It was a signal of coming reconstruction movement. It is important to mention that the reconstruction movement of Ottoman revitalization ideals caused demolition of several architecture heritage. Also, it caused many conflicts and urban planning problems, which we still observing nowadays. The condition of demolition of the building was captured by Cumhuriyet newspaper. Yes, also these pictures shows what kind of demolition happened during this reconstruction movements. This is Eminönü before operations and after operations. It was both a modernization plan, but also kind of just focusing on the big monuments like mosques, but demolishing the other heritage values like houses of people. And then the discussion of building was captured by Cumhuriyet newspaper. We also want to read a passage from that article about the destruction of garden.
Biyoloji Enstitüsü yıkılıyor. Süleymaniye'deki Biyoloji Enstitüsü'ne ait binanın yıkılmasına karar verilmiştir. Enstitüdeki eşya, ders malzemesinin Fen Fakültesine ayrılan yerlere taşınmasına başlanmıştır. Bilindiği gibi bu bina Süleymaniye Camii'nin güzelliğini çirkinleştirdiği için öteden beri şikayet konusuydu. Nitekim vaktiyle şehircilik mütehassısı Jensen, İstanbul'a geldiği zaman ilk tenkit ettiği şey Süleymaniye'nin önüne bu uygunsuz binanın yapılışıydı. Hatta gazetecilere, işte şehirciler mimarları bunun için serbest bırakmazlar. Çünkü onlar yalnız kendilerini göstermeyi düşünürler demişti. Viyanalı mimar Exils tarafından yapıldığı söylenen bu bina yakında yıkılacaktır. 26 Temmuz 1957 Dünya Gazetesi.
In 1957, as part of the Menderes reconstruction plans, the demolition of the building was decided and started. Here, these pictures are from the demolition, which was taken by Cafer Türkmen, a professional photographer of the institute. While the professors were going to Anatolian trips, he was documenting all botany and zoology practice. And then he also documented this unexpected demolition of the building. However, there was another important detail that keep the Botanical Garden and the first 2 floors of the building alive. Professors of the university and students protest the decision and remark the importance of this place. So although the Zoology Institute had to displace, the Botanic Institute remained in the area. Here we can see the pictures of the professors who were struggling for the existence of this building. These pictures are from the first day of reopening the faculty. We found them very hopeful for the nowadays situation of this Botanical Garden. However, next years also bring more political repression, which was followed by a coup in 1960s. Before these times, Alfred Heilbronn, the founder professor of Botanical Garden, turned back to Germany, like Leo Brauner in 1950s. They received back their properties with the new policies in West Germany regarding the properties of the victims of National Socialist Party. Following that, also Gefahr der Heilbronn, partner of Alfred Heilbronn, had to face with deportation from university as part of other authoritarian implementations in the country. Therefore, she also had to move to Germany. So when we gather these informations, demolitions of part of the building, separation of botany and zoology institutions, departure of important figures from the university, and changing sociopolitical dynamics, these conditions altogether changed the economic life of the university. We encounter with a letter in Bartop archives, which is reflecting the situation in 19th, the condition of the Botanical Garden. The letter is written by one of the other important figures of the faculty, Professor Dr. Turhan Baytop, in 1991.
Değerli dostum, bugün 4 Temmuz 1991 Perşembe. Öğle tatilinden yararlanarak Süleymaniye'deki Nebatat Bahçesi'ni görmeye gittim. Yolda Ali Baba'nın kanat lokantasına uğradım. Şimdiki lokanta Süleymaniye Camii karşısında köşe başındadır. Bir kuru ve bir parça ekmek yedim ve bir Pepsi içtim. Hayret edilecek nokta kuru fasulyenin tadı ve miktarının 1950'li yıllarda yediğimiz kuruların aynı olmasıdır. Yalnız fiyatlar değişmiş. Benden 6500 Türk lirası aldılar. 40 yıldır kuru fasulyenin tadını ve miktarını değiştirmeden koruyabilmiş olan kanaat lokantasını doğrusu kıskandım. Geçen bu 40 yıl içinde botanik bahçesinde meydana gelen değişiklikler ise yürekler acısıdır. Bu tabir bile gördüklerimi açıklamakta yetersiz kalır. Hiçbir yenilik ve ilerleme yok, tam tersi bir çöküş görünüyor. Bir zamanların pırıl pırıl biyoloji binasının meşe kaplama kapısı kararmış, çürümüş, simsiyah olmuş. Bu haliyle ne gibi bir kuruma girdiğinizin işareti gibi duruyor. İçeride koridorlar karanlık, kapılar ve pencereler bakımsız, boyasız. Bahçe tamamen kendi haline terk edilmiş. Bir bakanı ve ilgileneni olmadığı hemen anlaşılıyor. Her yeri ot kaplamış. En mukavim bitkiler bile kurumuş. Tahlar arasına dökülen yaprakları toplayan yok. Döküldüğü yerde duruyor. Tahlar içinde bir takım etiketler var. Çoğu okunmuyor. Okunabilenlerin yanında ise çoğunlukla etikette ismi yazılı bitki yok veya başka bir bitki var. Birçok bitki ise etiketsiz. Oraya buraya yayılmış, kendi keyfine göre büyüyor ve ölüyor. Nebatat bahçesi esas sahibi vefat etmiş, yeni sahiplerinin de hiç ilgilenmediği harap bir köşk bahçesi durumuna gelmiştir. 1940'lı yıllarda Alman hocaların büyük emek ve gayret ile kurdukları ve bize pırıl pırıl bir durumda bıraktıkları biyoloji binası ve nebatat bahçesi maalesef bugün her yönden acınacak duruma gelmiştir. Alman hocalar İstanbul'dan ayrılırken bizlere yayınları, öğretim düzeni, araştırma binası, kitaplığı ve nebatat bahçesiyle 1. sınıf bir öğretim kurumu bırakmışlardır. 40 yıl sonra bu bakımsız ve bilimsel değerini hemen tümüyle yitirmiş bir nebatat bahçesi görmek hakikaten bana elem veriyor. Alman hocalardan sonra bu kurumun başında birçok öğretim üyesi profesör unvanıyla yönetici olarak atanmıştır. Bu yöneticiler bu bahçenin bugünkü duruma düşmesini neden önleyememişlerdir? Her idareci kusuru bir başkasına yüklemektedir. Zamanla idareciler değişiyor fakat zihniyette bir değişiklik olmuyor. Profesör Heilbronn enstitüye geldiğinde genellikle ilk önce bahçeyi gezer, bitkileri ve etiketleri görür, yanlışları düzeltir, bahçe şeflerinden bilgi alır idi. Şimdiki başkanlar ve hocalar bahçeyle hemen hiç ilgilenmiyorlar. Bahçenin perişan durumunu anlattığınız zaman aldığınız cevap genellikle şöyledir. O işlerle de ben mi uğraşacağım? Acaba bu sayın başkanlar, profesörler, doçentler hangi önemli işleriyle uğraşıyorlar? Çok merak ediyorum. 3 Temmuz 1991 tarihli Milliyet Gazetesi'nde Maliye Bakanı Sayın Kahveci'nin üniversite hocaları ile ilgili bir beyanı çıktı. Sayın Bakan bu konuda şöyle diyor. Üniversitelerde 20 milyon maaş verilecek, öğretim üyeleri ve asgari ücret ile çalıştırılacak öğretim üyeleri vardır. İstanbul Üniversitesi Botanik Bahçesi ilgisizlikleri sonucu bugünkü duruma getiren öğretim üyeleri ve yöneticiler acaba bu asgari ücreti hak ediyorlar mı? Bir zamanlar üyesi olmaktan gurur duyduğum Nebatat Enstitüsü ve bahçesinin bugünkü durumunu anlatmaya çalıştım. İstanbul'a işin düşerse Süleymaniye semtine ve hele Nebatat Bahçesi'ne sakın uğrama. Göreceğin manzara sana çok acı verecektir. Uzun yaşamanın bir bahtsızlığı da budur. Bazı şeylerin yok olduğunu görmek. Geçmiş zaman olur ki hayali cihan değer sözü Nebatat Bahçesi'nin durumunu anlatmak için çok uygun düşmektedir. Pek çok selamlarım ve en iyi dileklerimle. 4 Temmuz 1991 Turhan Baytop.
After this letter, we continue to look the situation of the Botanical Garden in 1990s. And we encounter with a newspaper article on the conflictual ownership of the land for the first time in 1993. The headline says, "What will Müftü, with this? What will Müftü do with this botanical garden? In 1993, Istanbul Müftiyet demanded the rights of the botanical garden, the land of botanical garden, officially based on the illicit occupation law, which called in Turkish Fuzuli İşgal Kanunu. It refers to a person occupying immovable property without the permission of the owners, and give this person the right to demand the ownership of this property. Yes, it was more for the informal housing situation in Turkey, but Istanbul Müftiyet tried to use this law for taking botanical garden land from the university. When this request reached to the public in 1993, there was a lot of reactions from environmental organizations, academics, and student groups. Due to that, the Istanbul Müftiyet was forced to walk back its position. And in 1995, the garden was declared officially a protected area, and it is registered as a site of natural wealth whose plants must be protected. But the important detail, only garden was registered, not the Botanical Institute building. And then when we look today, the garden decided to give to the area of the garden decided to give to Istanbul Müftiyet in 2015 officially, and then it became public in 2017. We looked a bit deep, and then we found that in 2013 there was the first expression of current evacuation decision in television channel Kanal Türk. Istanbul University's rector of the period, Professor Dr. Yunus Söylet, joined the program on the television show. On this program, he mentioned on the topic of the Botanical Institute and Garden, and he said it could be demolished with the scope of the plan to renew and reconstruct certain historical structures coming from Ottoman. This statement was protested by academics through statements on written and also through interactive media, and then they protested on the site, and NGOs, academics, and student groups are joined to these protests. In addition to these reactions, it's important to mention that in 2013, also Gezi Park protests were occurring during this time. The protest about Botanical Garden happened around May, and Gezi Park happened at the end of the May and June and July. So within this changing social and political environment, we can say that the moving decision was quietly postponed. However, in 2015, we found another expression regarding the area in Religious and Life magazines, which is published by Istanbul Müftiyet in February 2015 edition. Professor Dr. Ferhat Koca wrote about Istanbul Müftiyet's claim of rights over the tract. He said, the demand of the Istanbul Müftiyet today is that the location of Meshihat Makamı, which is Botanical Garden is located, should be restored in a manner suitable to its old plan, and that the entire building and its additional structures be transferred to the Istanbul Müftiyet. From this diagram, you can see the black part, the gray part is the institute, the Biology Institute, Botany Institute. And these extensions are the Botanical Garden warehouses. And then the yellow part is the scheme of the layout of the building, which planned to be reconstructed, the building from Ottoman period. And then this red part is the buildings of the Istanbul Müftiyet. In 2015, this was just mentioned in the magazine, but it was not publicly opened that the tract was allocated to the Istanbul Müftiyet. It allocated confidently, and this information was not shared with the public until 2017. In 2017, a representative of Republican People's Party, Fazıl Uğur Soylu, found out this decision, and he shared with the public. Also, this decision was confirmed by Prime Minister Communication Center and Topography Real Estate Directorate. During that time, Turkey's social and political environment has great transformations, especially between 2013 and 2017. The victory of ruling party AKP in 2015 and following authoritarian implementations, especially after the unsuccessful COP in 2016, caused a lot of things. First of all, the lack of media visibility regarding the situation of Botanical Garden. Also, the reactions shown by university and civil society organization was repressed. In addition to that, there was a huge lack of freedom of speech because of the treatment of losing positions in the university environment. However, still, when we come back to 2018, people had to protest the situation because after a year, we received a call from our contact regarding the urgent movement order from Mufti. Normally, Biology Institute was supposed to stay in the building until a new institute building is constructed. So yes, in 2017, the movement decision was declared, but they said that the Biology Institute will stay in the existing building until the new one is maintained. This extraordinary situation finally found a place in media. It was protested by students, academics, NGOs, environmental organizations. And representative of opposition party came to the protests to question this decision. However, police and security did not let them to enter the building complex even. People started to do petition campaigns to save the garden. There were a lot of news about the importance of this place, both in German and Turkish newspapers. And at the end, Istanbul Müftiyet announced that the garden will not be demolished, but the institute will be transferred to another building as soon as possible, and the modern architecture will be demolished at the end. So, still the garden is not demolished. However, it is not an open space anymore. I mean, even with the professors from the university, you need to take a permission from Istanbul Müftiyet to enter the Botanical Garden. So yes, it is still exists, but we cannot visit. And this photos from our one of the last visit to Botanical Garden. This is a photo from herbarium. It is it's an interesting moment. It was an interesting moment for us because we could not enter the herbarium while we were doing our research, and yeah, we couldn't manage to enter because we couldn't have permission. And at the end, it was empty. It was looking like before the demolition. So it was an emotional moment for us to see this picture. So we share different layers, which is you can understand this area was always important in different historical periods. And we see that the garden land has not been left fallow almost in any period. It was always an important space. And the space of the garden has been influenced especially by the social and political transformations undergone in this geography. In fact, at various points, the garden was even a center of this transformation, especially during Ottoman state, when we look Baba Meshihat and Janissary Corps situation. So during our research, we looked at transformation in detail, and we saw that it was always a place of displacement or a place of exile. Our main aim was questioning the relation of this past with the present situation, how a conflicted area can rooted in the land, how a confliction can rooted in the land and repeat after periods and create traumas of exiles and displacements following each other again and again in this palimpsest land. And now today, we are telling this story in Germany, being part of an exhibition with stories of exiles and displacement. And with German Jewish professors, like the displacement of German Jewish professors, or a woman scientist, or the whole Botany Institute and other institutions before was existing here. And we would like to thank to Kunsthaus Hamburg for opening this session for us to share our research results. And our project is still continuing. We conducted this research with the support of South Research and programs in Istanbul, and we are very thankful for creating this opportunity for us. Also, yes, when we will have a chance after Corona, we will exhibit the whole research and art project next year at Depo, an open space for cultural and artistic practice in Turkey, supported by Anadolu Kültür and Osman Kavala, who is in the jail because of the authoritarian implementation of current conditions. Yes, thanks for listening. And yeah, it will be nice to listen your questions and try to answer them as well.
Thank you, Dilşad. Thank you very much. I hope Eda will join back into, yeah, there she is. There's questions in the Q&A, and I will just read them to you and we can maybe both answer. There's one question from Elodie Vitu. Thank you for the very interesting findings. All layers of interpretation are analyzed, very complete for a discussion about value. One practical question she's posing, do we have tonight an insight in the exhibition? Actually, not really. What you can see in my background is a photo from the exhibition. You don't see the work of Eda and Dilşad's project, but you can see installation shots on our website and a 360-degree walkthrough through the exhibition. But of course, that doesn't really replace a real visit in the show, and especially with the work of Eda and Dilşad, which has sound. Photography can't capture the sonic layer of the work. But at the moment, we are producing a video walkthrough the exhibition, which will include a sound and moving image, which we will publish on our website as soon as it's finished. Maybe give us like 2 more weeks, and then you can have at least a more appropriate insight into the exhibition. And hopefully we will be able to reopen. We will extend the exhibition until the beginning of January. And yeah, let's keep fingers crossed that maybe people from Hamburg will have the chance to come to see the space. And then we have a question from Burcu Doramaci. She says, thank you, Dilşad and Eda, for the instructive and very interesting talk. Would you say, after looking back to previous attacks and critics state the Botanic Garden as something strange or exotic in the matrix of Istanbul, something never really accepted? You mentioned it, a place for exiled scientists, but itself being an exiled place?
Yeah, I think we can answer this question, especially because of its position nearby Süleymaniye Mosque. I think it was kind of a place of like exiled place, because Süleymaniye Mosque and the other parts of historic peninsula, they are always very monumental, very important. And this place was a bit hidden, especially because of its scientific practice. It was not like a museum, or maybe it was a museum, but to enter this place, you need to enter the university first, and then you find the Botanical Garden. But also we can talk about the political strategies, because when we look 1990s, also the municipality of Istanbul changed to a conservative government, and according to our interviews, we learned that after that change, also the condition of maintenance of the garden severely changed, especially the lack of municipal service to clean and to maintain the plants and so on. So I think it's a strange and exotic place because there is not so many this kind of practice in Turkish history or Ottoman history. Like this botany practice was always kind of exotic, because it's not like Western world. It's something very new in the 20th century for the people, and then also for this Jewish German scientists. Its whole geography was so new, and they explored by going trips and botany trips and investigations. And now also the situation now reminds me the exile, because there is no visitor. You can't visit the garden. It's kind of arrested somewhere, and then it's not possible to enter there. So it's another way of exile, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Any more questions from the audience? You can also use the chat to type a question. Maybe I would also like to pose one question, or maybe go into one detail, because in the exhibition you have in the title says whispers and seeds, and maybe you can talk a little bit about seeds, because you showed us the photo of the empty herbarium, and so there were no seeds anymore, but still you have seeds or something left from the archive in the exhibition. So this is one question, and the other question is that you said when the garden or the Botanical Institute was founded, they were collecting seeds in the city. And I was wondering, because I mean, what kinds of seeds are there or were there in the city? Because it's a place full of houses and streets and concrete, and yeah, maybe you have something to say about that.
First I can answer the second question. I mean, when they came, Istanbul was very, very slow city compared to now. It was even in the walls, like this historical walls. And when we looked the archives, we found some how do you say, botanical trip diaries from 1940s. They are going to places that now some of us living in central places, going to those places to collect some seeds from rural areas and from more wild places, from gardens, from forests, and from some wildness. And so it's a bit different from nowadays, especially they were going to islands, and then they were going to northern part of Istanbul, where is a huge forest located, and the climate is a bit more different. And also from the whole Anatolian region, like they were going a lot to east of Turkey, because the climate is completely different from, I think, the Mediterranean part of Turkey. It was quite new for these scientists. And also they were going to Aegean side of Turkey, where different mountains and different mountains are located, and they can reach very different climates at the same time, because the seaside consists a lot of different plant species, and the mountain and middle plateaus are different. So the seeds were collected from both Anatolia and from Istanbul. And yeah, it was not that big those times and not full of concrete yet. And for the first question, seeds are it was kind of obsession for us. Eda and me were trying to enter the herbarium. I entered but years ago in one of my trip, and I saw inside, but not with the perspective of I had in 2017. So we tried with Eda. We wrote letters to university, and we said we are doing a research. We are an architect and artist. We want to see the herbarium. And they even said that the dust you can bring from the outside can be damaged, can damage the seeds inside of the herbarium. And then, yeah, we couldn't enter. Then we started to think that, okay, this garden might be not exist in next years or next decade. And we even didn't see the seeds that they have in the collection. And then we started to collect some plant parts from the garden. Every week we were visiting the garden, and then we were collecting what we found on the ground, kind of trash, I would say. And we started to collect seeds and parts of plants from different plants. in the garden in whole year between 2017 and 2018, and we keep them in small dia cassettes, like small drawers in the herbarium. And then we were trying to create our own herbarium to keep at least some material things from the garden exist. And on the other hand, when we met with a professor from the university, he showed us the first catalog of the Botanical Garden, which is the letter, we read the letter from that first catalog's preface. And when we see the first catalog, we were like, okay, so we can see the names of all these seeds that they have or they receive from other gardens. We can track it. Then we try to find the other catalogs. Then we reach them, which are also now in the exhibition as part of our contribution. So seeds has different stories, and for us it is they have like a connection with professors. They also come from another land and then try to root in this new land in exile. And we found out this connection with plants and professors, and now plants are faced to displacement in the same land. So also this connection was important for us while we are creating these works. Yeah.
Thank you. We have two more questions. Elodie Vitou, I will get back to you. But first I read another question from Rebecca John. She says, thank you very much for the presentation. Could you elaborate on your artistic research strategies on using the archive for addressing the question? And that I think is really nice that she is asking that, mentioned in the introduction text of the evening. So she poses the question that we were writing, or that you were posing, is it possible to transcribe a place and keep it alive in memories? So is there an answer for the question that you propose?
I mean, it is something we are always like kind of remembering this question, because when we look to like memory of Turkey or collective memory of Istanbul, there are different layers and different understandings, and the history which is written by more strong, powerful perspectives, sometimes not including these memories. When we look, it was an extraordinary story for us to see that these people coming from Germany in an exile in Turkey, which is the early period of Republic, and it's very, very interesting time because there is this transition from very Eastern Ottoman state to Westernized Turkish Republic. So we recognize that this was not included in the history, or it was not represented as part of Istanbul's memory. And with finding these archives, the archives that we are mentioning, by the way, are in very different conditions. Like we found one archive that we call archive, but the owner of the archive never calls as archive. He says always they are boxes from my mom. And we found a lot of documents there. And then it was like extraordinary moment for us to see a German Jewish professor swimming in the Bosphorus. And it's like something very important for the collective memory of city, but it was not included by any museum or any national institutions. So we recognize that we can find secret or hidden or not investigated archives, and then we can find a representation of these memories and try to kind of create a new memorial or new, I don't want to say history, but like a new remembrance, an alternative remembrance for this place. Because there is always this conflictual situation in Turkey, especially in Istanbul. Yes, you can remember this space as Bab-ı Meşrihat, but also you can remember this space as Janissary Corps. And then you can remember this space as Istanbul Girls High School. And they are all kind of conflictual to each other. And then it's not easy to find a common. And our purpose was kind of trying to create a memory or transcribe a place and keep it alive in memories by kind of struggling with archives and trying to find new documents to show these people, to show to people that this place was important for many people, and then it was important also for Turkish science history or cultural heritage, not only Turkish, but also German Turkish cultural heritage. So yeah, it was my answer. I don't know, is it answering the exact question, but yes. Yes.
No, I think that's quite interesting what you said. And Rebecca has another question. I didn't forget Elodie. So Rebecca Jones asking, I had in mind during your elaborations of the history of the place, would you say that this specific case shows the entanglement of history, architecture, and politics? And if yes, can you elaborate a bit more on the political aspect? Or is this still part of the research work in progress?
I mean, always everything is still part of research work in progress for us, because we are always finding something new and then listening answers and questions. But I think, yes, it is showing the entanglement of history, architecture, and politics in Turkey. I mean, it's not an important case as like Hagia Sophia or Gezi Park, but like when we look to this case, it's also reflecting the intention of destroying the modern architecture heritage. In Turkey, it's a big problem. The modern architecture heritage never accepted as part of this history of this country. And in that sense, I think it's also reflecting the specific situation. But also, if you, I mean, from the political aspect, this is only part of one, this is only one case. It's a big transformation in the city. I mean, the other places mostly destroyed for more neoliberal agendas, neoliberal urban developments. But in this case, it's a bit different. It's really, there's a big goal of Ottoman revitalization, which is also related to our current government and their understanding of urban heritage and urban development, I would say, yes.
And I would say it's not only important for like Istanbul history in Turkey, but also, and that's why I'm quite happy that you're part of the show here in Germany, to remember and to be aware of those histories and of to connect with the present issues that we are facing. So now we
we are facing reveal of it's like so many people coming from Turkey because of the same repressions.
Now another question from Elodie Vitou. I just wonder perhaps why two young women are going so motivated by such an urban object. My question is, she says, what was and still is your motivation to work on this project?
Thank you, Elodie. Elodie is my program coordinator, the program that I'm studying. Yes, it is my motivation to continue on this project. And Eda already wrote her master thesis on the production of this project, because she wrote her master thesis on how artistic production can be produced collectively. And then, yes, we were two young women in this process because like we both really interested with collective memory and the collective memory in Istanbul and the situations that are always happening around us. And Eda's practice is based on following the traces in the city and trying to recreate a part of these traces to show in another space, in museum or in gallery or in her installations. So for me, as an architect, I was like kind of always distracted by these demolitions all the time. And then the garden was somewhere very special for me. And I recognized that it will be demolished. And I was like, okay, but it's happening all the time and we can't do anything. Especially, I don't know, is it related to be two young women, but like I felt so powerful against this demolition. I remember that day, and we were with Eda, and we recognized that we both were feeling very powerless. Like what can we do to not to protect this space. The only thing that we found that keep going to produce something out of it, and then we try to document the garden. Our first intention was documenting this place. We wanted to create this transcript by videos, and we record voices, and then this collection of plants and other mediums. We always trying to document because we thought politically we didn't felt very powerful. And then we recognized that there was a lot of NGOs even not reacting against the demolition of this garden. So we were always trying to kind of do what can we do with our practice to, I think, feel better about these situations were happening in our city.
I think you're doing even much more than documenting with your project, and also I hope with integrating the project, and not only with this lecture tonight, but also with the presentation in the exhibition, to support this interest and research and keeping the memories alive or history alive. I think this is will never be like finished research or something like with an end or so, but maybe keeping alive by finding new ways and maybe new forms, and other people being interested and maybe following other traces in that context.
It was also our hopeful aspect, because every day there is something new happening in the city. And then after that, we also received a lot of attention from both radio and alternative newspapers in Turkey. And then we also thought the same, maybe other people will start to do something for other buildings or for other places, for other plats. And then it can become more collective struggle with other groups and collectives. Yeah.
And we have also been contacted by another institution with interest in the work. So that's really nice. Yeah, I hope I didn't overlook any questions from the virtual audience. Thank you very much for joining. And thank you very much, Dilşad and Eda. It was really great to learn more about the project and get to know it virtually, and it was really nice. And I hope to welcome maybe some of the audience for the next lecture, and one day, hopefully, in the space here in Hamburg.
Thank you for introducing and inviting us, and thank you for organizing this lecture.
Thank you, and
thank you.
Goodbye for tonight.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And we have a thanks from Kurt Heilbronn.
Thank
you to him also to join the lecture. Okay, good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.